Everyone laughed at the quiet girl, until a video surfaced of her defending herself with such calm precision it turned the school and the internet completely against her bully. If you asked anyone at Roosevelt High who ruled the halls, they'd say one name: Brielle Wentworth. 17, sharp-tongued, and always one step ahead of every trend, Brielle was more than just a senior. She was the senior. Her dad was a well-known corporate attorney in Sacramento. Her mom ran a luxury staging company for real estate, and their house in El Dorado Hills had been in a spread for modern home. She drove a graphite Range Rover, wore limited edition sneakers that hadn't even dropped yet, and had a TikTok following bigger than most local influencers. To the outside world, Brielle had it all. And honestly, she liked it that way. Every morning was a show. She walked into school like she was gliding. Perfect hair, perfect lashes, AirPods in, iced coffee in hand. Girls wanted to be her. Boys watched her every move. Teachers rolled their eyes, but even they had to admit she was smart. Just smart enough to stay above failing, never quite trying hard enough to challenge herself. That fall, senior year had been going exactly as she'd planned. Prom committee. Brand collabs. Homecoming queen almost guaranteed. No one threatened her status. Until Ayanna Brooks walked in. She didn't make an entrance. No grand smile, no high-end bag. Just a regular canvas backpack, braided hair tucked back, and a quiet nod to the teacher. She had transferred from a charter school in Vallejo. Full ride, academic scholarship. That's all anyone knew at first. She sat 2 rows in front of Brielle, in AP Literature, and by the end of the first week, people were whispering about how she already had the highest grade in class. By the second week, Mr. Daniels read one of Ayanna's essays out loud, not just for grammar, but because it actually moved him. Brielle didn't like that. She didn't say it, but the twitch in her lip gave it away. The way her eyes narrowed when Ayanna answered questions without notes, the way she sucked her teeth when Mr. Daniels asked her if she could elaborate on what Ayanna just said. Brielle had seen new girls come and go. Pretty ones, smart ones, weird ones. But Ayanna was different. She didn't try to compete. She didn't flirt with teachers or chase attention. And somehow that made her more noticeable. In the cafeteria, Ayanna sat alone. Not in a sad way. More like she liked it that way. She read during lunch. Sometimes with earbuds in, sometimes not, always calm, always unreadable. Brielle couldn't stand how unfazed she was. She's acting like she's better than everyone, Brielle muttered to her friend Mackenzie one afternoon. They were standing by the vending machines near the gym. Mackenzie popped her gum and shrugged. She's just quiet. Like, maybe she's shy? No, Brielle said flatly. She's calculated. You don't just come in here acting all saintly unless you want people to notice you. It wasn't jealousy. At least that's what Brielle told herself. It was about keeping order. If people started worshipping Ayanna's brains and quiet confidence, what did that mean for her? What about her carefully crafted image? She started small. Loud whispers near Ayanna's locker. Oh, wow! Did you bring your thesis today? Fake gasps during roll call when Ayanna's name got mentioned in multiple AP classes. Snide jokes about her library clothes and church girl vibes. Ayanna didn't bite. She kept showing up, kept acing every quiz, kept walking the halls like none of it touched her. Even when Brielle made eye contact and smirked, no reaction. But that only made things worse. Brielle needed a reaction. She needed control, and what she couldn't control, that scared her. But things were about to shift, and not in the way Brielle expected. It started with Brielle asking one question just loud enough. Does she even talk, or does she just blink Morse code? That was during AP Statistics. A few students chuckled. Ayanna glanced sideways but kept working. Mr. Fielding didn't say anything, but he paused for a second too long before continuing the lesson. Brielle smirked. The others followed. She had set the tone. It got easier from there. Like breathing. A fake cough when Ayanna walked into class. Eye rolls when she raised her hand. Brielle even started mimicking the way Ayanna sat, back straight, legs crossed, hands folded, exaggerated and cartoonish, just enough for her friends to burst out laughing. Ayana never responded, but she noticed. Of course she noticed. One afternoon in the library, Ayana sat by the window, reviewing calculus problems. A junior named Sean dragged a chair across from her and sat without asking. "You don't talk much, huh?" he said. She looked up. "I talk. Just not when I don't need to." "You think you're better than everyone? Or you just antisocial?" "I think I'm trying to study." He snorted, stood, and left. Two girls by the printer giggled. One of them whispered, "Attitude on silent mode." Ayana didn't flinch, but her pencil stopped moving. That night at home, her mother noticed she was quieter than usual. "You good, baby?" she asked, spooning rice into bowls. Ayana shrugged. "Same as always?" Her mum gave her a look, the kind only mothers give when they know you're not okay, but also know you don't want to talk yet. In contrast, over in El Dorado Hills, Brielle was having dinner across from her mom, scrolling TikTok while poking at salmon she didn't ask for. "I heard the new girl aced the chem test," her mom said, without looking up from her phone. "Cool," Brielle replied. "Maybe she could tutor you." Brielle looked up slowly. "What?" "You know, if you want to bring your grade up before early decision apps are due." "She's not even applying to the same schools as me." "How do you know?" "I just know." Her mom didn't push further, but Brielle's jaw stayed clenched the rest of the meal. Back at school, the teasing moved into group chats. Someone made a meme of Ayana reading alone at lunch with the caption, "Plotting her next essay to destroy us all." It was shared in private stories, spammed in comment threads, turned into an inside joke. No one stood up for her, not out loud. Except for one person, Ethan Mercado, a quiet kid from AV Club who caught up with her at her locker one afternoon. "Hey, you good?" She looked up, surprised. "Yeah? Why?" I see the stuff. I don't laugh." She nodded slowly. "Thanks." He hesitated. "You ever want, company during lunch or something? Just say." She didn't say yes, but she didn't say no either. Still, it didn't stop the stares, the whispers, and Brielle kept watching, always from a distance, trying to figure out why Ayana wasn't breaking. Until one day in lit class, Mr. Daniels made a mistake. He handed back essays. Ayana's had a 99, Brielle's had a 72. He didn't say anything aloud, just handed the papers over like usual. But Brielle caught the mark, and she lost it. "Did you even read mine?" she blurted. The room went quiet. Mr. Daniels blinked. "Excuse me?" "You gave her a 99 and mine barely passes." "Brielle, if you have a question about your grade, we can discuss it after class," she scoffed. "Whatever. Guess some people get extra credit for being mysterious." Ayana kept her eyes on the desk, pen tapping lightly. After class, Ethan walked up to Ayana again. "She's scared of you, you know." Ayana shook her head. "She just doesn't understand me. She doesn't want to. That's the problem." But Brielle wasn't just scared. She was about to make a mistake that would shift everything. And this time, the whole school would see it. Thursday afternoon was slow, humid, and dragging. The AC in the cafeteria had been spotty all week, and tensions were already high. Brielle, bored and restless, leaned over her tray of untouched chicken nuggets and stared at Ayana from across the room. Ayana was where she always was, by the far windows, eating quietly, a paperback tucked beside her tray. She was reading Things Fall Apart. Brielle narrowed her eyes. "Of course she's reading something with a title like that," she muttered. Mackenzie raised an eyebrow. "You're still on this?" "She thinks she's special. She literally doesn't talk to anyone." "Exactly," Brielle snapped. "And people are acting like that's admirable." Mackenzie hesitated. "So, what, you want to throw food at her or something?" "No," Brielle said. "I want to give her a moment." That's when the idea started forming. She looped in Zach and Nina, two juniors desperate to be in her good graces. They had access to the AV Club's green screen kit and a copy of the morning announcements footage. In less than a day, they whipped up a fake segment. Ayana's face pasted over an old news anchor's body, dubbed with robotic audio. The headline? Ayanna Brooks declares herself Queen of Roosevelt High. It was stupid, but slick. It looked almost real. The plan? Air it during morning announcements just before second period. And it worked, at first. That Friday morning, right after the Pledge of Allegiance, the video came on. For a second, most students blinked in confusion. Then came the laughter, loud, ugly, echoing down hallways. Ayanna was in third period English when she heard it. A sophomore sprinted in, phone in hand, showing her the clip. "Yo, Ayanna, you see this?" he said, laughing. She didn't answer. She just stared at the screen, her own face distorted, voice robotic and mocking. She blinked once, then shut her eyes tight, as if to make it all disappear. Later that day, Brielle passed her in the hall. "Hey," she said sweetly. "I loved your little speech this morning." Ayanna stopped walking, turned slowly. Their eyes met, really met, for the first time. And for a moment, Brielle felt something. Not guilt, but a flicker of uncertainty. Like she was no longer sure who had the upper hand. That night, Ayanna sat at the kitchen table, laptop closed, tea growing cold beside her. Her mum sat across from her. "They're messing with you again?" Ayanna nodded. "You want me to call someone?" "No, it'll make it worse." Her mom leaned forward. "Baby, what they're doing isn't just teasing anymore. It's harassment." Ayanna's jaw clenched. "They're waiting for me to snap. I'm not giving them that." Her mom studied her face. "You sure?" Ayanna's voice was low. "I'm sure." But her hands were shaking under the table. The next morning, she showed up to school in black leggings and a simple hoodie. But no books, no backpack, just her phone. She walked straight past the main office, straight past her locker, straight to the gym. There, she sat quietly on the bleachers during warm-ups. The girls' volleyball team stared. Coach Ramirez spotted her and approached. "Ayanna, something up?" "I just want to use the gym after school. Do you mind?" He looked confused, but nodded. "You've got 15 minutes between practice and basketball. That's it." She thanked him, and waited. After school, Ayanna came back. Coach had left the mats out. She pulled one to the center of the floor and dropped her bag beside it. And for the next 15 minutes, she moved. Fluid, sharp, powerful. Snap kicks, elbow strikes, pivot turns, breathe, reset again. There was no music, no audience, just motion, just discipline. She didn't know someone had walked in, and she definitely didn't know he had filmed it. It was Ethan. He didn't say anything, just watched, stunned, his hand barely shaking as he hit record. Later that night, he uploaded a 19-second clip with the caption, "They picked the wrong one." No tags, no names, just movement, precision, focus. The video didn't stay quiet for long, and once it caught fire, nothing at Roosevelt would ever be the same. By Monday morning, the clip had hit over 200,000 views. No names, no faces, just a girl in a hoodie moving like something out of an action movie. Smooth, exact, completely in control. TikTok blew up with reactions. People stitched the video, trying to imitate her kicks. Comment sections filled with guesses. Who is she? She didn't miss a single move. She's clearly trained, but back at Roosevelt High, not everyone was in on the secret. Not yet. In first period, Brielle sat with her feet up on the desk, scrolling through her phone. She saw the video, paused, and tilted her head. "She looks familiar," she muttered. By lunch, someone had connected the dots. Ayanna's name started floating through the halls again. But this time, different. Less mockery, more curiosity. And something else Brielle wasn't used to hearing. Respect. "She's the one from the video. I thought she was just a nerd. Yo, she's legit." Brielle felt it. The shift. Not a full replacement, but the beginning of one. She started catching whispers that didn't include her name. Compliments that weren't hers. It was subtle, but it ate at her. That afternoon, she cornered Ayanna outside the science wing. Ayanna had been walking alone, earbuds in, hoodie up. She stopped when she saw Brielle step into her path, arms crossed. You think you're clever, huh? Brielle said. Ayana pulled one earbud out. What? You trying to go viral now? Playing the humble angle? Ayana blinked slowly. I didn't post that video. Right, Brielle scoffed. Just a coincidence it pops up the second people start calling you weird. Ayana stayed still, calm. You know what your problem is? Brielle stepped closer. You walk around like you're too good to speak to anyone, and then you act surprised when people don't like you. I don't act surprised, Ayana said softly. I just don't pretend. Brielle's face flushed. She looked around. A few students nearby had slowed their steps. Watching. Waiting. I'm warning you, Brielle hissed. Ayana turned to walk away. And that's when Brielle shoved her. It wasn't hard. Just enough. Just public enough. Just loud enough for gasps. Ayana stumbled half a step, caught herself, and turned. For one long moment, they stared at each other. And then Ayana moved. She didn't hit Brielle. She didn't throw a punch. But she blocked the next shove so fast that Brielle's wrist spun in the air, off balance. Ayana sidestepped and stood still again. It was over in under 3 seconds. Someone had caught it on their phone. The moment Ayana's foot planted, the way Brielle's arms flailed slightly, Ayana's stillness, her refusal to strike back. That video? It made the first one look like a warm-up. It spread like wildfire. By that evening, news outlets were already reaching out to Roosevelt High. Some called it an act of disciplined self-defense. Others labeled it the moment the quiet girl shut everything down. Ayana didn't say a word. She didn't tweet. She didn't post. She didn't reply to comments. She just showed up to school Tuesday morning, head high, hoodie down. And no one laughed. Not in the hallway, not in the cafeteria, not even in the group chats. Brielle, on the other hand, barely made it to third period before people started avoiding her. Not out of fear, out of embarrassment. Did she really shove her? Why would she even touch her? Bro, you saw the footage. Ayana didn't even swing, Brielle tried to explain, tried to joke it off, but nobody was listening. And for the first time in her life, Brielle Wentworth was being looked at, really looked at, and not in the way she'd built her world around. But the real fallout hadn't even begun yet, not until people started choosing sides. By midweek, Ayana Brooks was a name people outside of Sacramento knew. A local channel picked up the footage and ran a short segment. Student defends herself with poise after being confronted at school. Her martial arts studio in Vallejo shared the clip, praising her form and composure. Someone on Reddit dug up old footage of her competing in a junior nationals tournament at age 10. She had won gold. Suddenly, Ayana wasn't just a quiet scholarship student. She was a headline. At Roosevelt High, the energy shifted. Teachers were talking in break rooms. Guidance counselors were holding closed-door meetings. A few parents sent emails asking how the school planned to address bullying in light of recent events. Brielle was drowning in it. She tried acting unbothered. She showed up to school in sunglasses and oversized hoodies, pretending it didn't hurt. But it did. Every time someone looked past her, every time someone mentioned Ayana without her name attached. She walked into APLIT and heard Mr. Daniels say, "Courage, sometimes, is saying nothing at all. Letting your actions speak." He glanced toward Ayana, who didn't even look up. Brielle's chest tightened. At lunch, she sat with Mackenzie and Zach, but their table felt empty. Conversations turned awkward. No one wanted to say the obvious, that maybe Brielle had gone too far, that maybe Ayana hadn't done anything wrong. Worse, her followers started turning on her. The comments on her last post were brutal. "Didn't you shove her? Why are you mad she has talent? You're the reason people don't trust popular girls." Brielle turned off her comments, then her DMs, then her account. At home, she slammed her laptop shut and threw her phone across her room. Her mother knocked gently, opened the door halfway. "Want to talk?" "No." "You've been quiet lately." "I'm fine." "You're not." "I said I'm fine." Silence. Then her mom's voice, soft. "You know, sometimes when you feel like everything's falling apart, It's just the truth finally showing up. The door clicked shut again. Back at school, Ayana was still Ayana. She didn't walk like she had something to prove. She didn't dress differently. She didn't gloat. She didn't even speak about what happened. She just kept moving through the day like usual. That silence, the same one Brielle used to hate, was now the thing people respected the most. She wasn't just the girl who kicked. She was something more. Something Brielle had never bothered to understand. Even Ethan noticed. He found her near the lockers on Thursday afternoon, right after class. "You okay?" he asked. Ayana gave a tired smile. "Still here." "You know people are on your side, right? I'm not trying to start sides." "I know. But you kinda did, just by standing still." She paused. "I didn't want any of this." "I know." A few feet away, Brielle watched them talk. For the first time, she wasn't angry. She was confused. The attention Ayana was getting, it wasn't clout. It was respect. And it wasn't flashy or performative. It didn't need filters or hashtags. It just was. Brielle sat in her car after school, staring at her reflection in the rearview mirror. Not the lashes or the perfect liner, not the curated version she usually fed to the world. Just a girl who wasn't sure who she was without the spotlight. But even she couldn't avoid the next moment, the one that would finally force a conversation neither of them were ready for. It was a rainy Friday when Brielle finally said the words no one expected to hear, not even herself. She found Ayana standing under the awning outside the East Gym, waiting out the storm before her bus came. Most kids had already left for the day. Brielle hesitated for a long second, her designer boots already soaked, hair starting to frizz. Ayana saw her coming but didn't move. "I need to say something," Brielle said, voice low. Ayana blinked. "Then say it." "I was wrong." Silent. "I'm not saying that for the internet or to fix my rep. I didn't know how to handle you," Brielle went on. "You were quiet, smart. People liked you without you trying. That scared me." "You don't have to explain it," Ayana said. "No, I do. Because I spent months thinking I had to be everything, all the time. Perfect, loud, popular. And then you walked in and didn't try to be anything but yourself. And people still looked at you, like you mattered." "I don't need you to like me," Ayana said quietly. "I know. That's why it got to me." The rain kept falling. Ayana crossed her arms. "You embarrassed me. Publicly. More than once." "I know. You made people think I was weak." "I thought you were," Brielle admitted. "But you're not." Another pause. "I've been watching that video," Brielle added. "Not the one where you blocked me. The other one. In the gym. You were focused. Controlled. Like nothing around you could touch you. I've never had that." Ayana stared at her. Unreadable. "Why now?" "Because I finally shut up long enough to listen." That's when Ethan appeared, standing a few feet away, backpack over one shoulder. He didn't interrupt, just looked at Ayana like he was checking in. Ayana gave him the smallest nod. Then she turned back to Brielle. "I don't need an apology. I needed space. You've already taken enough." Brielle bit her lip. "So we're just done? We were never anything," Ayana said. "You don't have to be the villain in your own story. But I'm not your redemption arc either." Brielle didn't respond. There was nothing else to say. She turned and walked into the rain. Ayana stood there a little longer, just breathing. Later that evening, she sat with her mom on the couch, warm socks and a throw blanket around her shoulders. "How was school?" her mom asked. Ayana hesitated. "Complicated," her mom smiled. "Ain't that just life?" Ayana laughed, a soft, real one. At Roosevelt, things weren't perfect. But they were changing. Mr. Daniels started assigning essays that focused on character growth. Students who never spoke up before were now calling out petty behavior. Even the school board launched a small initiative about bullying, student support, and mental health. But the biggest change? People looked at each other a little differently now, not with pity or popularity, just curiosity. Somewhere along the way, the silence had started to teach them something. One afternoon, Mackenzie sat beside Ayana in the cafeteria. No apology, No small talk, just two girls eating in peace. It didn't need to be more than that. And Brielle? She wasn't posting much these days. She'd started showing up to class on time. She joined the yearbook team, behind the camera, not in front of it. It wasn't about fixing her image. She just needed something real for once. Ayana never went viral again. She didn't need to. She had what mattered. Her grades, her strength, her boundaries, her voice, even when she didn't use it. But the world hadn't forgotten, and neither had she. Some things don't go viral. They stay with you, and that's where the real change happens. 2 months later, Roosevelt High looked the same. Same lockers, same lunch lines, same morning announcements. But something in the air had shifted. The noise that used to matter most, who had the newest shoes, who was at whose party, who said what on social media, it had all quieted. Respect started to mean something different. Not loud claps or crowd cheers, not likes or reposts, but quiet moments, real ones. Like when a freshman dropped her books and 4 kids bent down to help without saying a word. Or when someone new sat alone and someone else asked, "You want company?" It wasn't perfect. It never is. But people were thinking more, pausing before making a joke, checking in instead of joining in. Ayana still sat near the windows in the cafeteria. She still wore her hoodie some days and still moved like someone who knew exactly who she was. People greeted her now. Small things. A wave. A smile. What's up? Not because they wanted anything, but because they'd finally seen her for more than what they assumed. Ethan stuck around too. They didn't talk every day, but when they did, it mattered. "You still training?" he asked one day as they walked out of school. "Yeah," she said. "Every week." "You think you'll compete again?" She shrugged. "Maybe. Maybe not. I'm not doing it to win. To focus? To stay grounded," she said, smiling. As for Brielle, she was still figuring it out. Some days she slipped into old habits. The sarcasm, the need for control. But then she'd catch herself. Apologize when she never would have before. Help out with something nobody noticed. Laugh at someone else's joke without needing to be the center. Change doesn't always come with fanfare. Sometimes it's quiet. Slow. Internal. Mr. Daniels made a point in class one day that stuck with both of them. "Respect," he said, "isn't something you demand. It's something you earn. Often by how you treat people when you think no one's watching." Ayana caught the words in her notebook, not because she needed the reminder, but because it felt like the right kind of full circle. People stopped asking what really happened in that video. It didn't matter anymore. They'd seen the real story play out over weeks, not in clips, but in choices. And those speak louder than any viral moment. The world moved on, as it always does. But some of the students at Roosevelt, they moved forward. Wiser, softer, a little more aware. And sometimes, when no one was paying attention, Ayana would pause during a walk down the hallway, look around and realize something. She hadn't changed. But the people around her had. And that was enough. Sometimes the strongest thing you can do is stay true to yourself, even when everyone's watching and waiting for you to break. You don't need to be loud to be heard. You don't need to fight to win. And you don't need to change to earn respect. Let your actions speak. Let your boundaries hold. And let your silence carry the weight that noise never could. If this story made you think differently about how we treat others, or about what real strength looks like, don't forget to like this video and subscribe. There are more stories coming that challenge assumptions and remind us that character isn't built in moments of comfort. It's revealed when you're tested. Thanks for watching. Stay grounded.